Welcome to Santos on Sports. So much to talk about this week. Paul and Chris, hope you are well wherever you are watching from today. And wow, we just have a full platter of things to talk about this week. Chris, how are you this morning?
I'm very well, Paul. Looking forward to the show. And it has been a fun, interesting week in sports.
All right, well, let's get an opening rant from Chris Santos this week. What is on your mind this morning?
Well, let's talk about the Boston Celtics and let's talk about Jason Tatum in general. Is he a candidate, Paul, for MVP in the National Basketball Association?
Ooh.
It is a question now that has been raised since January 1st. It's been a question raised since the All-Star break, the trade deadline. They've gone from 11th to 8th to 6th. They're up to 3rd, and it's behind the back of Jason Tatum. Can you put him in the top 5 right now to say he is a candidate for MVP of the league? It's possible. Please call us at 774-301-9432. Let us know what you think. Paul, I think he's in the top 5. I don't know. He got off to a slow start. He will admit to it and said, I did not come out of the gates very well. But let's look since the All-Star break. He's averaging 32.1 points a game. He's 50.7 in field goals, 43.8 in three-pointers, 7 rebounds a game, and 4.6 assists a game, which is probably the best in the NBA. Now, you have guys like Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, Doncic, and Jason Tatum in that top 5. That's the way the rankings have been. I don't know if he is the MVP, but he's putting up strong numbers since the All-Star break to really say, hey, put me in consideration. The one downfall, Paul, and we've talked about this from day one, if I go back and look it up, I believe it's like 1 for 7 down the clutch to make the shot at the end of the game. So right now, that's not good for him compared to maybe some of the other great players. So that needs to turn around in his favor if he wants to become an MVP candidate.
Well, he's definitely in the conversation. I agree with you there, especially where we started, not only the beginning of the year, but you point out January. January seems to be that line in the sand where all of a sudden something changed. And, it feels to me just from watching the games, I mean, again, the statistics are important, and those statistics are all very persuasive statistics,
Yeah.
The last one having to do with a clutch shot, I think is still, kind of out there. The jury's kind of out on that one. But doesn't it feel like the leadership qualities really started to take over, where, just that losing and then losing another one and then losing another one and, different arguments inside and people telling him, hey, you got to step it up. And then Udoka saying, hey, we need somebody to be a leader on this team. We need somebody to, kind of take the bull by the horns. And it's starting to feel like watching the game. I'm like, wow, this guy's really, he's starting to take over these games. There are some games where I thought he's absolutely taken over the game. This guy, number 0, is going up and down the court, and he's calling the shots out there. He's like, being the leader that we thought he should be. So it feels like a lot of that, too, has really been a difference maker with the Celtics' success.
I agree. And I also agree that their defense has led to easy transition basketball to get him some good points, to bring up their confidence. They're number 1 in the league in defense. Right now, candidates Marcus Smart and Robert Williams are candidates for Defensive Player of the Year. And how about Udoka? Does he get in the mix for Coach of the Year for what now they've come from almost dead last, really moving up in the rankings? They're only a game and a half behind first, and only a half game behind second. So pretty impressive to see how defense gains confidence when everybody's on the floor. You had the addition in White, and then the role players around with Williams and Pritchard and everybody else, Horford, the other Robert Williams. A lot of good things happening with the Celtics right now. A dangerous team, according to a lot of people, but can they win the big game down the stretch, and can they do it in a 7-game series? That's to be determined.
All right, 774-301-9432. Give us a call. Talk sports today. So much to talk about. It's kind of an optimistic time, except for the Patriots, who we're going to get to in a little bit.
Yep.
Kind of an optimistic time right here in Boston sports because, the Red Sox are about to get off the ground here. They settle that whole contract dispute, which was nice. The Celtics and the Bruins both going into the playoffs. Both of the teams are just doing fantastic. You look at their record, the Bruins record and the Celtics record. I mean, between the two of them, they're winning like 90% of their games, right? Having said all of that, right, the way sports is, which is what makes sports so much fun, the Celtics, right, and the Bruins, they could both be around 3-4 rounds deep in the playoffs, right? At the same time, they both could be gone in the first round. Can't you envision, like, the Celtics, after all this, having the bad luck of lining up with the Nets, let's say? Now, so I've heard some people say, well, I'd rather just play the Nets right away and knock them off. No, I don't want to play the Nets right away when I can play, one of these other teams that just barely got out of the play-in. I don't want to play Kevin Durant right away, best player in the league, as long as he's there and healthy. Even though Kyrie's a little bit of a loose cannon, I would want to play them in the first round, So the Celtics could absolutely get in some long series in the first round and get bounced. And of course, hockey, the unpredictability of hockey. The Bruins could be playing their best hockey and everything else. And all of a sudden, they beat Tampa the other night. But in the seven-game series against any of those teams, you're Pittsburgh, Washington, any of those teams, the Bruins could be gone quickly. Even Toronto, they say, well, Toronto, you got all this history. And it's like, sooner or later, those teams find a way to win. So I don't know that you would automatically or pencil anything in the win column. But how frustrating it would be, and anything can happen, to have us go into the playoffs all gung-ho and then have, oh, no, what happened? They're both gone. It could happen.
Oh, it definitely could, but that's what makes playoff hockey, playoff basketball so interesting, so much fun to root for your team. And you got to play what's in front of you, Paul. No matter where you show up in the standings, other teams climb, other teams fall. You have to play what is given in front of you. That's just the way that it goes. So you have to find a way as a coach and your assistants to come up with a game plan of who you're seeing in the first round and then worry about the second round when you get there. You got to take one game at a time. You can't look in advance, especially when you get the top 8 in both sports. They're all good teams. And again, the big thing, can you win a 7-game series? Great game the other night by the Bruins, beating Tampa Bay, who's a very good team, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Gives them confidence going in, even without Bergeron. They got the new kid Lindholm back at defense. So a lot of things happening there. Same thing with the Celtics, beating some good teams like Golden State, Denver in the last couple of games as well. Gives you confidence to say, hey, we can go in there against anybody, knock them off, but can we do it for a stretch to win 4 games and move on to the next round? That's going to be the key.
Hey, I really like Lindholm the other night. We're watching the game, right? And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is a guy who, when you're watching the game, like, he's noticeable. You're like, wow, This guy, he's making his presence felt out there on the ice. And, you still got McAvoy there. Bergeron didn't play, but when Bergeron comes back and everybody's there, as long as they're healthy, Swayman made some tremendous stops. And, was there ever a doubt that he was the guy, thinking back on it now again? And might have been different if they had just went with him last year even, but that last year was last year. But how about that save when he was on his stomach? The player came in deep left and right, and he just flashed out that right pad, but nice and calmly, nice and confident, under pressure. Always seems to come up with a big save. And that's something that you got to like about him. And I got to tell you, I don't see why the Bruins wouldn't have as good a chance as anybody else. The problem is there's other teams that have as good a chance as them too. But I don't see why the Bruins wouldn't have as good a chance as anybody else.
Well, let's start with Lindholm. He reminds me of a young Chara. Big, strong on the stick, blocks shots, gets in the lanes, gets in the way. Let's talk about that game the other night. The Bruins took 39 shots. Tampa only took 24. That's pretty dominant in pretty much saying we've controlled the neutral zone and we control the offensive zone. When you get that kind of production and shots on goal, that's pretty impressive for the Boston Bruins. Now, can they, again, do that during a 7-game series against Tampa Bay? That's yet to be determined. And can Swayman roll for that long of time? Yeah, you might be able to give you the 1 game. Can you give it a series? And does it take a lot out of you doing that, Paul, to win that series? Then you got to go at it again for another one. So it does take it toll sometime too. But yeah, very strong, Lindholm. I like the matchups, what they want to do. Maybe keep him with McAvoy at certain times. Maybe play him with Carlos. So Cassidy's going to like what he sees there. They signed him for a long contract. Young kid, a lot of energy. So I think it really helps the Bruins in the long run.
All right, 774-301-9432. Talk sports this morning. We're covering a little bit of everything this morning, a smorgasbord of sports over here. And by the way, it looks like Chris has got some green on this morning here. I think Chris is a real green teamer. That says Celtics obviously in the front. Let's see that there. And then wait a minute, what is this? What about the name on the back? I know the name.
Well, hey, listen now. Remember now, the name on the front is a lot more important than the name on the back.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
In this case, that name on the back is bad.
Yeah, that's true. We do have that one. Nice little game jersey. Yes, little warm-up jacket.
That name on the back is pretty good. Pretty good.
Yes, that's true.
All right, so the Patriots. I'm trying to think to myself, maybe it's not as bad as we all think. Maybe there's just something. All these players, like you said last week, when talking to Tom Curran, maybe second year these players will all be better and the thing will come together. And but I got to tell you, it's Tyreek Hill in our division now. We got Malcolm Butler. I don't know what you think about that. What is your assessment of the Patriots? I mean, what do you think? Playoff team, or in other words, if you had to say right now, what do you think? We think we're really in trouble here.
I think other teams have made moves that have made the Patriots stop and think how good they can be this year. Let's look on it on paper, Paul. Let's not look anything different. Let's just say on paper, are the Patriots better than the Bills? Are they better than Miami? Are they better than the Jets? I'm going to say right now the moves that Miami has made, 2 good offensive linemen, 2 good running backs, and now bring in Hill to go along with Waddle. I think they've moved up maybe in front of the Patriots. And remember, they took 2 games off them last year. Plus, the Bills seem to be better than New England right now, too. So that makes New England now maybe 3rd just in their division. Again, that's all on paper. Now, let's talk about the other AFC teams. Are they better than Cincinnati? On paper, probably not now. Are they better than Baltimore? With Lamar Jackson in there? Maybe not. Are they better than Pittsburgh? I think they are. I'm not stuck on Pittsburgh right now. It's just my opinion. And are they better than Cleveland? Who's got Deshaun Watson? That's yet to be determined. So you have to think of that. Then you go to Indianapolis, who beat them last year. You go to Houston. I think they're better than Houston. Jacksonville. I think they're better than Jacksonville. Tennessee. They beat Tennessee last year. Has Tennessee done anything to improve to make them better? And then don't forget, you got the West. Denver. The Chargers. You got the Raiders. And you got Kansas City. Are they better than those 4 teams on paper of what they've done in the offseason compared to what these other teams have done in the offseason? I say no. I say the Patriots have fallen a little bit. Not to say that that's just on paper, Paul. They could still go to the playoffs, still do well. But on paper, they haven't really done enough, in my opinion, to really move up.
All right. Looks like we had a temporary phone malfunction over here, so give us a call now at 774-301-9432. Looks like the silent button may have been on. We don't want to have any silent over here. It looks like somebody might have left a voicemail. That's it. I don't think I've ever got a voicemail before on the Santos on.
Hey, we apologize, but give us a call now.
Take another crack at it. I asked the question before: are we in trouble? Right? Chad Barreto says deep trouble.
Okay.
Deep trouble.
Well, again, and Chad is a big New England Patriots fan, but Chad also knows what Bill is doing and what Bill is not doing. And we've talked together, me and Chad, and he knows that the Patriots have not done enough this offseason, relying on all that free agency from last season. And they're in trouble. And Chad knows it, and he thinks it. And again, I put it on paper. Not to say when they play the game, because anybody can beat anybody. But if you put it on paper, how good are the Patriots compared to all the AFC teams?
All right. Good morning. You are on Santos on Sports.
Good morning, gentlemen.
How are you?
Doing?
Good, thank you.
Good morning.
Couple things. No one has ever won the Super Bowl in March.
Yes, good point.
Good point.
And we'll come around. We'll circle back to that. I want to talk a little bit about the Bruins.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, trade deadline is gone. I thought they did well. I really, I thought keeping DeBrusque is probably because they couldn't get what they thought was, fair market value on the other end of a trade. But let's see, if he can keep his spirits up and be a professional and contribute for the remainder of the season anyway. But, every team got better. Every team in front of the Bruins and some behind, everybody made deals. And, I thought the Bruins did well, but so did the other teams. And, May will tell. April and May with, 15 games in 30 days for those teams, their schedule. So I think longevity and, will they be able to sustain this push they have is going to really be key.
I totally agree. And can Swayman keep the pace up? That's number one. Number two, you talked about DeBrusque. Does he go away? Does he hide and doesn't become a factor at all? Or does he turn his game up? I know it's difficult with Bergeron out, but with Bergeron makes him even better because Bergeron's going to find you and get you the puck. With Marchand in there as well too. So as long as he can step up, make some assists, grind and dig in the corner and do what he normally can do, that will help them along the way. And then picking up Lindholm, we'll see what Brown gives from Ottawa that they picked up also, what he gives as a big size and a big body as well. So they're looking for some toughness, and they got it with those two guys in the back. Hopefully DeBrusque can help that out up front. And, again, I think it comes down to the longevity of the 7-game series compared to just one game for them to move on.
I agree. Chris, you know how many points DeBrusque had and how many shots on net he had in the last game?
Paul, big fat 0.
I think that's right. Yes, you couldn't even notice him.
No, you know how many points he's had in the last 8 games? Probably
0.
1.
No, I don't know.
He went back to normal, huh?
Well, that's the problem with him. He's a streaky player.
But like I said, during that time, Bergeron has been out.
That is true. That is true.
Obviously, you have to have him on that line because he does a lot. He sets you up. He's a guy that can really find the spot to take his shots. He can find you open if you are open and make good things happen so you can get more shots on net. So, yeah, he's fallen off a little bit. But if he does the intangibles that Cassidy says he has been doing, which is the digging and the grinding and getting the puck and keeping it in the offensive zone, he'll be happy with that maybe until Bergeron comes back, and then hopefully he can get back on the score sheet.
I agree with you. And let me finish with circling back. No one, and I mean no one, has won the Super Bowl in March.
That is correct. But let me ask you this question. For what they've done, and if they do nothing now until the start of the season, if they do nothing to the start of the season, do you see them as a contender with what they have? Because they haven't really done much in the offseason compared to what other teams have done and other moves that were made.
Well, I think that to think that they're going to do nothing, I mean, there's the draft, and there's a lot of time leading up to.
Correct.
A lot of guys will be cut and let go before the season, when rosters start to get trimmed down based on money, and there's a long way to go. But, man, I know it doesn't make for good talk radio, but, it's March.
Right.
It is. But, again, so are you thinking that your first, second, third, let's say Belichick trades the first round and he drops the second, third, and fourth. So now you're in the second, third, fourth, fifth rounds. Do you see a lot of them guys he's drafting going to put him right in and be a starter right away? It doesn't happen too often. Yeah, you're going to get some guys who can do it, but sometimes it takes you a year or two. And if they do nothing else in the process, now you're relying on that. Can they get away with that and compete with the teams who have made moves?
Yeah, I just think that there's a lot of options still available and a lot of time. I think that the guy, in the process has proven itself over 2 decades.
True.
And even to get away from the Patriots, the amount of hype around all these quarterback moves, and I mean, Deshaun Jackson, the kid that went to Cleveland, he could be arrested tomorrow, but everybody's got him winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no. I think there's like a little bit of an overreaction that, because the Patriots spent all kind of money last year and it only got them a few wins, right? So maybe some of these other teams, you could make the argument, hey, they overpay for a guy, the guy flops. Now what do you do? And by the way, right? Let me ask you a question, Butch. The possibility that somebody like Jonnu Smith, Aguilar, but particularly Smith, right? Okay, I happen to go to that Saints game, right? I keep mentioning that because it was a beautiful 70-degree day, and they fell behind early. But then in the start of the second half, we got back in our seats and we're ready to go. And all of a sudden, first play, throw to Smith. He bobbles the ball. He pops it up in the air a couple times. Touchdown, game over, right? And I'm like, I can't believe I spent all my money for this, But is that going to happen every year? I mean, isn't he better than that? Isn't he somebody that could be what we thought he was going to be in year two? And maybe there's some of these other guys that are going to be better than the first year in the system and trying to learn all this Belichick stuff and how the Patriots do stuff. So you add all that together, could that have some kind of cumulative effect that we're disregarding out of hand?
Well, I'm hoping so. I think these guys are professionals. I don't know how they, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping so. There's certainly potential for that. I think there's more of a chance that they improve as opposed to declining or remaining status quo.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're onto something. But only time will tell. And it is only March. It's like, wow. It's overwhelming how I listen to these experts. They got the Patriots in last place. And the AFC, and I don't know. I just think it's some overreaction. But it's fun to talk about, and it's fun to speculate. But again, let's at least wait. Let's see what happens.
And the only reason that is, Butch, is because other teams have made moves, and the Patriots haven't. So the sports guys around here want to talk about, well, what are we going to do to keep up with what they just did? And that's what it's all about, being a local media guy, to say, hey, why are we staying pat? Why are we content? Why are we not doing more? That's what it comes down to, the bottom line. So when other teams make moves, they all want to do the same thing.
I mean, we're not going to do anything with our quarterback. We're not making a big splash going to get, someone. We're not doing it.
Nope. And it's another thing. You had a rookie quarterback working with the guys that had just come over for the first year, learning the system, learning how to play with Mac Jones. Let's see what happens now after a year. And as you said, can improve and get better under a year of a belt with Mac Jones to know exactly how he plays and how this system works.
All right. Not hitting the panic button just yet, I guess, for us diehards.
No, hang in there.
Hey, thank you very much for the call.
Okay.
Yeah, bye-bye. All right, 774-301-9432. I see we got a comment here from Ryan Farias, and he's calling himself Ryan Fast and Farias. I like that. I like that. That's catchy. Nice. And he is indicating that with that contract, Jonnu Smith needs to get better, or there needs to be some serious restructuring. Well, maybe some restructuring and running the the pattern and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I know it's just probably, when you're a fan, you're a diehard fan, Chris, of your teams, you always try to grasp at something like, well, maybe there's something that Belichick is seeing, with all his experience that we're missing, that, maybe he's looking at it and say, wait a minute, this guy is way better than that. That guy's way better than that. This guy had trouble studying the new system. This guy was kind of a slow study. This guy, in year two, he's going to be way better. Okay. And I see all these other teams overpaying for all these people with no guarantee that's going to produce anything. That's what my heart is telling me. My brain might be telling me something else, but my heart is saying that maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I mean, you think that's way off base?
No. And where did you spend all your money last year, Paul? Where did the bulk of the money go? It went to the two tight ends. Right. So if it went there, those are the two guys that you got to look at to say, hey, you got to lead us. We gave you the contracts you want. Now, you two guys, let's take over. Now, that being said, we've had some hits in that offensive line, the Patriot fans, and they know it. And I've talked with Chad before about this, and it starts there, because if you can't get holes, you can sign as many James Whites as you want. But if there's no holes up front and Mac Jones is getting pressured every time he touches the ball, it's going to be a lot of issues. So they better shore up that offensive line, or it's going to be a long season.
Well, it sounds like Trent Brown is coming back, right?
That's what we've heard. But which Trent Brown? The one that's fat and out of shape, or the one that can really get in there and play like he's supposed to play? That's the one they want to know. Because Patriot fans have told me, which Trent Brown are we getting back? Some guys, oh, yeah, great, we got Trent Brown. Got other guys saying, yeah, well, he's got his money. Now he'll be fat and out of shape. So when you hear things like that from Patriot fans, they know, and they want to see a better offensive line and the guys that they've lost.
Well, the Patriots have a lot of ifs, and I always just like to say, if the ifs aren't stiffs, then maybe we'll have something. But you take a look at, Judon even, like what happened to him? I don't think we really know, because for him to go from one of the best signings, dominant, it used to be such a joy. It'd be like, wow, where's he going to show up in the next play? He'd come out of nowhere and just like barrel through it. And I was like, wow, we never had a guy like that before. Then all of a sudden he goes silent. And it's like, did they make an adjustment on him? Did they double team him because they figured there was nothing coming from the other side? So different down the stretch, and maybe he's banged up. So which Judon do we get next year? Do we get the one that we see at the beginning, or do we get the one that was banged up, or whatever happened at the end? Another big question mark.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how he comes out of the blocks in the first couple of weeks, because as you said, I believe he was injured. I don't think he was 100% personally. I'd have to look at game by game of how many plays he sat and how many plays he did play during those last couple of games. And it's possible that he had some issues. But that being said, you have to fight through it. You have to have other people step up and pick up the pace as well. But him coming out of the gate in the first 2 weeks will definitely tell how he was compared to the end of last year.
Shout out to Missy Rocha Farias as well on Santos on Sports. There's your number. Give us a shout. A comment here from Chris DuPont, who's a big Bruins fan, and he says, let's not rush Bergie back. They're playing good hockey right now. We're still looking for that solid second-line center, though. It all comes down to the second season, of course, the playoffs. Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it was actually nice to see the Bruins win that game without Bergeron.
Correct.
And so, yeah, you don't want to rush him back.
Oh, absolutely not. No, you don't rush Bergeron back at all.
No.
You as long as he's ready and in good health going into the playoffs, that's all that you ask for. And if you're winning games without him, that's even better. I mean, it's nice to see with Craig Smith and even Eric Haller getting those guys involved. Of course, it was Pastrnak who got the hat trick the other night to really be the offense for the Bruins. But Smith stepped up. Coyles has stepped up a little bit on the last couple of weeks to get those guys moving. Haller, as I said. So it's nice to have them, even with Bergeron not in there, and you can get other people scoring and get on the board. So, yeah, no, I don't rush Bergeron at all. When he's ready, he'll know when to be there, and I expect nothing less from him. He's a veteran. He knows exactly what to do.
I like to talk about that it factor in sports, and we're talking about how the jury's out a little bit still on Tatum. Like, has he got that it factor where, you give him the ball with 3 seconds left and he needs to hit that big three with a guy in his face and all that? And, he's a young guy. They're just coming into their own. I think that he could very well be that guy. We'll have to see. Certain guys definitely have it. We talk about Tom Brady. If there's ever an it guy, it's Tom Brady. Larry Bird, it guy, obviously Michael Jordan, people like that, somebody that, we talk about who would you give the ball to with 2 minutes left? You know what I mean? Tom Brady gets the ball every time, pretty much. You know what I mean? There's a couple other guys, Montana would certainly get the ball, but Tom Brady's going to get the ball. Who do you want on the bases loaded, 2 outs in the 9th inning? I want Big Papi at the plate myself. You know what I mean? Derek Jeter might be a guy you put at the plate. Reggie Jackson, somebody like that is going to really give you a good at bat and possibly come through the clutch, right? Well, when you talk about goaltenders here, right? It does feel like Swayman has that it factor. Now he's a young guy. He's just starting in there. He's just getting on a roll. But I don't know, man. I like the fact that he's calm. He comes out of the net. He's confident. He cuts down the angle. He's not afraid to make a play. He makes a big save when you need it. All that stuff that, I don't know, like there are some goalies that they're good on paper, but then when you really need that save, Doesn't feel like it happens.
No, and he's got stats to back it up as well. Top 5 in like goals against average, probably in there as wins as well. So absolutely. And great moments happen from great opportunities, as Herb Brooks once said.
It sounds familiar.
And he's taken advantage of his opportunity. Now, remember, what would happen if Tuukka doesn't get hurt and Tuukka plays halfway decent? Does Swayman stay in Providence and never get this opportunity? Well, guess what? Tuukka gets hurt, decides to retire. The opportunity presents itself. He takes advantage of it. Now he's in there. Now he's a young guy. He's feeling confident. Can he do it in the playoffs? It's going to be the big test right there. Do they rely on him? Hopefully not as much when you only give up 24, 25 shots compared to giving up 39 or 40 shots. That tells a lot too. And that's what the Bruins did well the other night defensively, blocking some shots, staying in the lanes, getting some turnovers in the offensive zone, in the neutral zone to keep the puck away from Swayman. So that will help out as well. But if he's hungry, he's wants to be there, the opportunity has presented himself, and he's taking advantage of it.
We had one of our viewers as early as last year typing in the comment line, Swayman.
Yes.
I must have seen Swayman typed over here so many times. And, and then because of the contract with, the other goalie, they had to send him to the minors, which was like, oh my God, this guy does not belong down in Providence. I mean, that was just what they had to do. So I'm glad in a way that, I felt bad. Tuukka, seemed like a good guy, did everything he could, never seemed to be able to come through with that clutch moment save. But I'm glad that the page has now been turned with this guy because I have a lot of confidence in this kid.
Yeah, I think the Bruins do too. And Cassidy made the point probably after January and said, I'm rolling with Swayman. I'll get Olmark in there when I have to, and then I'll keep more of the games toward him. So he's prepped and he's ready come to the playoffs as long as he stays healthy. And even if he falters a little bit or doesn't go the way he wants, I mean, Olmark's a veteran. It's not like Olmark is a bad goalie. He's pretty solid as well, and he's got decent numbers this year to go along with it too. Obviously, they want Swayman and start there, but Cassidy will figure it out once the playoffs begin and what it's looked like down the stretch.
All right, 774-301-9432. What's on your mind? We're talking the Big Four, Bruins, Patriots, Celtics, and Red Sox. We're going to circle around to the PC Friars in just a few minutes. They had a really nice run in the NCAA playoffs, but I do want to get a Sox moment in here. This is one of these things that's irritating me a little bit here. There's always like one, that has to be at least one thing that's irritating me, Chris. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a thing. Okay. So this whole thing, the Trevor Story, bring in Trevor Story. And, he's going to play second base for now, but he really wants to play shortstop, and the Red Sox kind of want him to play a shortstop. Well, yeah, we already have a shortstop, a guy who took the hometown discount, and he's been like a true blue-red Red Sox guy, and a class act on and off the field and everything. And so the guy comes in, and it's like, instead of saying, hey, I'll play anywhere that the manager wants me to play. As long as the Red Sox win, I don't care. Oh, he comes in with this attitude like, well, yeah, I'm going to play second base for now. Who are you to come in here and start barking out where you're going to play? As far as I'm concerned, your numbers aren't even as good as Bogart's, So who are you to come in here and start saying, well, for now? What do you mean for now? And if you're Bogart's, you got to be thinking, what's this guy coming in here saying he's playing second base for now? What's all that about? I don't like all that. You know what I mean? Like, Bogarts has been a good guy. I really like him. I tend to like those Patrice Bergeron types. They're solid on and off the field, class act, mind their business, play the game. You never hear anything about him. You love rooting for the guy. He came in 2013 as a rookie. Went back to his hometown, got treated like a big, star because he came back from Boston and everything. It's a whole big story there with his background. And now it's like, I'll play second base for now. That press conference with Story, he irritated me. I thought, who's this guy saying he's playing for now?
Well, they gave him the contract to talk, and so he's made his point of what he thinks. You can look at that from a couple of ways. Number one, it could be detrimental to the team. Number two, it could put it at a point where, okay, pal, if you're that good, let's show us what you can do. Now, you had a great home at Coors Field batting, but you didn't bat that great away from Coors Field.
Right.
How are you going to do now at Fenway Park? So that's going to be interesting to see how he does that too. Now, you can also make a lot of different moves here. You could put Bogarts at DH maybe for a day and move Story over at short once in a while. That could happen. You could put Story at DH and put, let's say, Hernandez over at second base or Arroyo. You could move Bogarts maybe to third, put Devers to first, put JD in the outfield, sit Bradley, give Dahlback a rest. There's a lot of options that Cora might be able to do as long as he can communicate with those guys and say, hey, fellas, we're in this together. And obviously winning breeds confidence, and that gets away from we're having some in-house troubles. Hopefully that won't happen to them. They can right the ship. He stays on board, gets it where he wants, and they kind of keep him happy. Let's see how that works out.
I just didn't like the feel of it, you know.
I agree. Yeah, it's not the way you want coming in. Yeah,
something rubs you the wrong way. Like maybe in order to persuade him to come to the Red Sox had to say, you know, hey, I like playing shortstop. That's how I feel more comfortable. That's where I want to play. So they had to tell him, well, you know, Bogart's got one more year, then we'll figure it out. So then that he may not have come without them telling him that. I don't know that to be the case, but you know, even if you didn't really think it, even if he really thought, gee, you know, I really want to play shortstop, but they already got Bogarts over there. Well, but I also want to win a World Series, and I want to play in front of the Boston fans who might arguably Boston's one of the, if not the best sports town in it's not Colorado, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to give something to get something. But for him to come in and not make that clear, like, wouldn't you have loved to hear him say, I'll play, you know, right field foul pole if the Red Sox win the World Series? That's what you would want him to say, but he wouldn't say that. He was all like, I don't know, almost cocky. I didn't like it. I didn't like his press conference at all.
No, and again, and everyone has an opinion of what they think of how he presented it. Could he have done it better? Probably. And say, hey, I'm here just to help the team wherever they need me. I get it. At the same time, he's a confident kid that says, hey, you paid the big bucks for me. You know, I'm a shortstop. I'd like to be there, maybe more than second base. But for now, that's where I'll be. And I'll give you everything I got. There's a lot of ways maybe he could have presented it. And it didn't go maybe the way some Red Sox fans, you know, thought it was when he came out and said something. So let's see where he starts, especially in the lineup. Obviously, defensively, where he stands, and then how he makes out in the first month to say, hey, this kid's around and he's got some pop in that bat, or he's just average, and you know, and maybe it was a bad choice. So I know a lot of teams wanted him. He could have went to a lot of teams, Paul, at shortstop, and he decided to join Boston. So they gave him the money he wanted. Let's see where it turns from there.
And if you're a Bogarts, he's always been a class act. I mean, sometimes when years go by, people start to get, you know, they change a little bit, like Nomar did towards the end of his time at the Red Sox. Even Brady got a little grumpy there at the end, and things, you know, leaked out that maybe he thought that he shouldn't have said or whatever. I don't know. But so far, Bogarts has been just a class act all the way. So what does that say to him, right? Let's say you're Bogarts, and you know you're not going to come out in a press conference and say, "Wait a minute, I'm the shortstop here." No, he's going to say, "Hey, whatever you have to do to win and all that." But then, what does that do next year, right? Like privately, he might be saying, "You know what? Screw the Red Sox. I'm going to play this 1 year, and then I'm going to do like Mookie Betts did and get the heck out of here." Why am I going to? After I wanted to stay here, I wanted to play in Boston. I wanted to be like the Boston Red Sox version of Derek Jeter, play my whole career with one team and that whole thing. And now you're going to like bring this guy in and start this nonsense? You know, if I was him, I would publicly be smiling. Oh yeah, I'll play wherever you want. But privately, I'd be saying, you know what? I'm out of here.
Well, now it's become a money and a contract issue at the end of this year because they just signed Devers and obviously what they've done with Story. So now it depends on what they have to re-sign Xander if he wants to stay or how this year makes out. So, you know, you got a whole season to go through to figure all that out. And then, you know, with the cap and everything you got, we'd have to figure out how much the money is and then what you could offer him and to keep him. Or if not, other teams say, hey, well, we want this guy. And he does pull a Mookie and you can't afford him. And off to somewhere else he goes.
All right, let's see. We got a few other comments here. Brandon Bouchard says Story will only play on Bogey's day off. Then he says Mayer will be here in 3 years. And then he says, let's see, second base with elbow issues. Well, I know Story has some elbow issues, right? I
I'm
think
not
that
sure about
resolved.
that one.
Okay.
I understand. Yeah, like he says, if Bogarts takes a day off or he goes to DH, then you can put Story in there. I totally agree. You keep Xander at short, and you go from there. So I expect that. They got a couple other guys in the minors that they might be looking at too. If they can't re-sign them and say, okay, we got some other guys coming up, and they may have to go that route. And they've done that in the past, and their farm system's always been pretty productive. So they can't complain there. And we'll have to wait and see how Cora plays it out with guys that he has. He just said JD's going to play a lot more outfield than maybe last year. So there's another guy that's going to get some more swings as an outfielder. Can he do both compared to be just being a DH like obviously Ortiz was?
Yeah, I know Story was the one that Brandon Bouchard was referring to having the elbow issues. And he did actually mention that in the press conference. Oh, my elbow's fine. Well, if you're at second base and that helps your elbow a little bit and you work well with Bogarts and the Red Sox are winning and you're putting up numbers, I don't see what the big deal is about second base, shortstop, or whatever. Shortstop maybe is the more glamorous position, I guess. But, there's a lot of great second basemen that have had a great career playing second base. So I don't see that. You actually mentioned it just a second ago, but Ryan Fast and Furious says, how do you guys feel about first base? Are you sold on Dahlback and possibly Tristan Casas coming from the minors? Chris had mentioned about, some of the players coming up from the minor leagues. Or would you rather have forked up to $20 million more for Freddie Freeman instead of Story?
Well, that's a good question. And I think the Red Sox were in the hunt for Freddie Freeman. They didn't get him. They were outbid or whatever it was. Dahlback did have a pretty good late August and into September, if I recall, had a pretty good month there. So hopefully he's ready to turn it around and get going into this next season. Now, he'll be more at the bottom of the lineup. But then again, you have options now where he doesn't have to maybe play every day at first base. Might be able to get some other guys in there. Who knows how they really want to do it. But Cora might have some moving parts to try to get to him. Am I stuck on Dahlback? Not yet. I think he's okay, and he's coming around. And so I think they give him a good look this year. That's for sure. And whether it's defensively and, of course, the bat offensively. So this is a big year for Bobby Dahlback. Absolutely.
And getting back to Story for a second, Don Andrews says Story's home and road record in terms of a statistic. We talked about this at the top of the show. Really, really big difference.
Big difference.
Batting average of 303, road batting average of 241. The home runs are much higher. We all know about Coors Field, how the numbers can be inflated. Right. And then the other thing, too, that Chad Barreto mentioned was some shortstops can play second, some not so well. I know he mentioned in his press conference that he played second base in Double-A. I think it was even in Bristol, Connecticut. At one point he played second base, so he's had experience at second base. But then the next question was, can he play in Boston? There are some guys that, they get irritated with the Boston press and all that. And so I don't know. Usually, you got to put that aside and play. But that's an interesting question. It looked like, I don't know, he came across as kind of like a temperamental, kind of a grumpy guy to me. I don't know. I was only one impression, so maybe that'll change. Maybe he'll go out there and he'll do what he needs to do. But an interesting question. The numbers, home and road, combined with can he play in Boston? What do you think about that?
Well, the media will let him have it, Paul, if he doesn't play well in Boston. That's for sure. They will jump on him. Yeah, they will. I mean, look at Kyle Crawford and a couple other players that they've had in the past, and they've jumped on guys like that and said, hey, we gave you this big contract. You need to come here and produce, pal, and let's start getting some numbers like you had at Coors Field and not what you did on the road. So, yeah, I'm sure they will get on him, and that starts to affect you right up here mentally. Can I maintain some good playing defensively? And never mind with my bat, which is what they paid me for. So he's got his work cut out for him. So he better be prepared because they will jump on him if he starts not off to a good start. Let's put it that way.
I have a feeling that Xander Bogaerts, I have a feeling he's going to go out there and go, all right, watch this now. I'm going to put together my one of those 33 home run years like I had a couple of years ago. He's in the last year of his contract. He's going to be a free agent. You know, hey, you know it is with athletics. If you just like give someone that little chip on the shoulder, usually that's when you play your best.
Well, it's true, and they've gave him the deal that he wanted. This is where, according to him, he wants to win. This is the organization that I feel is a winner. They got pieces of the puzzle with JD, Devers, Bogarts. Get that pitching staff ready. So if he thinks they can win now, well, you're here. You got to be part of it. And look where they put him, probably right in the middle of that order. So expect him in the 4, 5, or 6 hole, and figure where he goes from there. So the media will eat him up if he doesn't come through.
Well, Chris DuPont made a comment here. He says it's a good problem to have.
It is.
You know, this whole thing with, Bogarts and Story.
Yep.
But he then goes on to say, you are right, Paul, which I just want to let that bounce around for a second.
Oh, Paul's right.
That doesn't happen too often that I get told I'm right,
Write this down, 326.
Even though I know I'm right, I still don't get told it too often. But no, he says, you're right, Paul, lose the attitude. I thought it was just me. I'm like, this guy, man, I don't know. I thought he had an attitude issue myself.
Everybody, see, when you're a manager, you got to be almost like a psychiatrist.
Oh,
you got so many guys mentally that you can say one thing to this guy, but you cannot say the same thing to this guy. And you really have to find a way to get right here with every player and get what you think the best out of them. And how do I do that? And so Cora's got, like Chris said, a good problem ahead of him. Can he manage it now to put the pieces of the puzzle together and make sure everyone's on the same page and things run smoothly? That's what it comes down to.
Well, people forget now, too, that year that the Red Sox finally won in 2004, I mean, Terry Francona's best attribute, I mean, he pushed all the right buttons and he made good decisions and who he was going to start and all that, and the game managing and all that. His best attribute was getting everybody on the same page because
Clubhouse.
Yeah, people don't remember now. I mean, you had Schilling, and then you had, a Big Papi wasn't the Big Papi that we have now. I mean, he was always a cooperative guy and everything. You had, obviously, you had Pedro, who, with Jimmy Williams, he got mad at Jimmy Williams because he showed up late and this and that. And that. So there was some stuff there that needed to be managed. And one of the best attributes of Francona was he was that psychiatrist that you said, and everything came together.
On the field managing, them guys have been in the league so long. That's easy stuff. It's the clubhouse things, and in the dugout that really now has to become. Is he player friendly? Is he a disciplinary? Is he an Earl Weaver type? Is he a Jim Leland type? So all these guys try to figure out, what they can be. Number one, and then players sit back and say, "I don't like that. I like this instead." So that's another thing that coaches have to figure out. And another thing that players have to figure out when they go to a team, who's running the team, who's the manager, how he acts, how he performs, how is it going to be in the clubhouse. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes than just on the field.
Well, take a look at the Celtics in that regard. You talked about Udoka being somebody that the league should consider as coach of the year, right? Well, he called out its players at the beginning of the year, and it didn't seem like it was working. It was like, oh, he's calling these guys out. That's not playing well. He's halfway through the season is the same thing as Stevens and everything else. Then there was the threat that, hey, you know what? We're going to blow it up. We might trade Marcus Smart. We might trade Jaylen Brown. Even Tatum, believe it or not, his name was mentioned a few times. And then all of a sudden things started to come together. And then you look at, the big criticism was that Marcus Smart shot the ball too much when he really shouldn't have been. And now they're winning games where I think he shot the ball only 3 times, like an entire half, the game the other day. And, maybe it's just a matter of saying, because people just want to feel like, everybody feels this way. This is part of the human condition. You want to feel appreciated. So maybe you go to Marcus Smart and you say, Marcus, you're the best defensive player in the league. You're the best. You're not Tatum. He might be the best offensive player in the league or the best at something else. And this guy might be the best at something else. You're the best defensive player in the league. You should have pride in that. We need you to go out there and play defense and facilitate the ball, and we'll win. So I mean, just something like that. I don't know if that's what happened. I'm just throwing it out there as like a, something that, speculation. As long as the person is told what their role is, you be the best in the league at that role. Everybody does what they're supposed to do. and we can win like that. So that whole psychiatrist thing that you mentioned, yeah, you have to be a psychiatrist, and it feels like it happened with the Celtics.
Yeah, and then when he's finished talking with Marcus Smart, then he's got to talk to Jaylen Brown. Can you
Right,
share
yeah,
the
right,
time
yeah.
with Tatum? Then you're done with Brown. Then you got to talk to Tatum, and then you get White coming over and say, "Hey, I had you in San Antonio. I thought you were great. You should have got more playing time there." Well, guess what? You're going to get more playing time here. And again, with Udoka, it's a little bit different. It's his first year, trying to know about the team, trying to figure out each guy. Cora's had a little bit more, experience in MLB, and he has an idea about all his players who he's coached already in the past. So it makes it a little bit easier for him because now all he has to worry about is maybe Story and another guy here and there, and that's about it because everybody else knows the kind of guy he is. For Udoka, it's a matter now I got to get guys for role players. Pritchard was getting a lot of minutes last year. It's calmed down this year. So, hey, I got to speak to him now. This is what your role is going to be. A lot of things going on, Paul. It just can't be, here's my 5, get out there and play.
Yeah, well, I was actually glad to see Pritchard. He had a great game the other day, and there was one game where he wasn't hitting those shots that he usually hits from 3. But you got to give him one thing that you got to give him when he's out there. Whatever those minutes he gets, he gives you every single thing that he's got for those minutes, offensively, defensively. How about when he comes down with a rebound? Now, again, you got to wonder whether that'll happen in the playoffs because teams obviously up their game in the playoffs. It's a much more physical game. Sometimes it becomes more of a half-court game. So the idea that Pritchard's going to be up there rebounding is probably a stretch. But just the fact that he would out-battle guys that are 6, 7, 8 inches taller than him and somehow come down with a rebound, partly because he boxed out, partly because he's in the right spot, stealing the ball. A guy's dribbling down, maybe he's looking around, he's not paying attention, and he comes in picture pocket. All those little things that he does, in addition to shooting, I really like the fact that he gives you every single thing that he's got for those minutes that he gets.
Yeah, and what it is, Paul, it's called energy. He gives you energy coming off the bench, which sometimes teams sleep and they get a little bit of shakiness to them. And Udoka says, hey, I need a little bit more spark here. Get in there, Pritchard. And then he gets in there. And then, as you said, he sneaks out, gets in them big guys. And next thing you know, he's underneath their legs and he comes up with a rebound, gets an easy point, or he hits a big 3. He just gives you a lot of energy. And when you do that, it gets the team back to where they want to be. And I think that's really how he wants to use him.
I was happy that we got a comment saying that I was right. Well, then there was a follow-up comment that said, Chris is always right.
Oh, no.
But there's a reason for that. The reason is that you're a Cowboy fan.
Oh, that's why I'm always right. Oh, boy. I don't even want to know who that is.
Chris DuPont said that.
Well, hey, Chris, I appreciate it.
He's again, a Cowboys guy.
As a Cowboy fan, speaking on half of obviously Patriot fans, or even local with baseball and hockey, I'm just a sports guy. I'm a big NFL guy. And I'm just trying to figure what Pats fans are thinking at this time. Again, it's March, end of March. A lot could happen between now and the start of the season. I get all that. But I'm just going by what is happening right now on paper, and a lot of Patriots fans who I talk to and will come out and tell me, hey, I don't like this. I don't like this. This is good. This is bad. So I'm just trying to present, what I hear from the people and, of course, what I think might happen as well. So I appreciate it. Try to give you all the X's and O's as much as I can.
100%. And we want to take a few minutes to tip our cap to the Providence College Friars. Yeah. What a nice run they had. I got interested. I don't follow them normally. I'll follow them here and there. But then once again into the tournament, they went on this nice run, a couple of good games. We knew the game against Kansas was going to be tough. But, I put that game on and I'm watching the game. And about 5 minutes into the game, I thought to myself, wow, what it takes to get a basket against this Kansas defense. From the 3-point area, they won't let you take a shot that's not uncontested. Then you try to work it down low and you get under the basket and it's like, okay, you got the ball in the basket. It's an up fake and then 2 guys in. It's another up fake and it's a rejection. And then you get the rebound and then you do a double spin and it goes up and it hits the glass and it rolls around 3 times and goes in. I'm like, and now it's like, okay, you get 2 points. I was like, oh, this if that's what it takes to get 2 points, this is going to be a tough night. And I think that was the key. Their defense was tough.
Yeah, it was. And let's give Ed Cooley and his crew a big sign of respect. It's been a long time since Providence has really moved up in basketball. And it was nice to see in this area someone go that far. And remember, Paul, everybody likes to root for the underdog. That's how it is. Look at St. Peter's, doing what they did last night as well, too. So Providence gave it the shot. How many times did they take last-second shots before the 24-second clock was running out? So give Kansas a lot of credit on the defensive side of the ball. Second half, hey, they were only down 9 at the half after all those troubles in the first half. Gave themselves a chance. They cut it down, I think, like 2 or 3, and they were kind of down there toward the end. Took some fouls and some free throws to give Kansas the win. But I think Kansas was the better team, at least last night. But good job by PC. Hopefully that brings more people to want to go there and play basketball. And it keeps them up, high in the NCAA and maybe get back there again real soon.
Yeah, really nice to see, and some entertaining basketball there. There was a stretch of time, especially when Providence went on that run. They actually got ahead by a point at one point.
Okay.
I was switching back and forth, probably like a lot of people were.
Yep.
With that other game, which was really, really exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Why did I say Pittsburgh? That's because this guy's a Pittsburgh fan and Penguins, But anyway, yeah, they took a 1-point lead at one point. But then you knew that Kansas was going to have their run, and then of course they did, and then then it went from there. But they played a gritty game, and so congratulations! I know a lot of PC folks around here, a lot of watch parties, and a lot of people really behind the Friars. They had the big send off when they left at Green Airport. I think they took off in the Patriots plane and everything. So all that stuff is nice to see when you get that kind of support from the community.
Oh, absolutely. And again, as I said, the underdog is something that really attracts people, especially in big-time play like the NCAA tournament. So to watch that go on, never mind you got a 15th seed now moving on in St. Peter's. There's another underdog story that's just unbelievable what's going on with them as well. So can they keep the run going? That's going to be difficult. But a good job by PC and a good job by the local people helping them out along the way to get there. As you said, the Patriots organization often in their plane and a great send-off as they took off, all that kind of stuff. So good for them. Good for the program.
Well, another fun week of sports this week, of course. We'll keep an eye on the Patriots and see what they do, if they do anything in the next week. The Bruins got the Leafs, I think, on Tuesday. Wednesday night, I might be going up there to catch up with my son who actually works up in the Garden. So kind of slip in over there. Not slip in. I'll still buy a ticket and everything. But once I get in there, I can kind of find where he is and take it from there. But what I was going to say was Miami Heat, Wednesday night, Miami Heat. I like Miami as far as how they play, who's on the team and all that. So I thought, if I'm going to go up there, maybe that's the game to see. Miami's in first place still, I think. Celtics are within a couple of games. They're all bunched up there. So it should be another exciting game and another test for the Green.
Yeah, it should be. And, there's a lot of good games left on their schedule. They still got I think 14, 15 games left. So a couple of weeks going on there. So, Miami, it's always a big game. You're a game and a half out behind the leader. You're only half a game out of second place. So, you want to keep that winning and say, hey, I can beat them in the regular season. If I get to them in the playoffs, maybe I can beat them there as well. Paul, I want to give a shout out to all the spring sports, which starts this week coming up in high school. Your baseball teams, your softball teams, your lacrosse teams, your track teams. Want to wish all the boys volleyball as well. We're going to cover some games, obviously, on cable TV, but want to wish all of them a great season. We got softball coming up this week to cover. I think I got New Bedford High School and Bishop Stang, so I'm looking forward to starting off that week with that one, and then we'll move on to all the other games as well, too. So good luck to the coaches and all the players in high school in the local area in spring sports.
Then you get out there. We had that 60-degree day, for us up here in New England. That felt pretty good.
Until Monday when it's in the 30s. So that's going to change quickly.
Now, my wife is a big, loves the beach, loves it to be 80 degrees. We went to Florida, so we come back here and we're waiting for the spring to break. So we're out there at 60 degrees. So I like 60 degrees. It's sunny at 60 degrees. I got my jacket on and everything. I said, hey, what do you think about this? She's like, not bad. I'm like, what? I said, this is beautiful. What are you talking about? No, she loves that 80, 85, So
no, I agree.
We'll get there. We'll get there soon.
It's coming, but give it a few more weeks.
We got a little ways to go, but boy, I just want to see a couple of nice deep runs. How entertaining would that be for the Celtics and the Bruins to still be playing like in June, you know?
Yeah, well, that would be one thing we'd like to see too. Still some free agencies out there for the Patriots. I know Tom Curran talked about Valdez Scantlin. Well, he got picked up by the Chiefs, so you can cross that off your list. But there's some other guys out there that
OBJ.
possibility. You never know, could get up on there and sneak in. And of course, a lot of other teams need some players as well. So who knows what happens there? And then mid-April, obviously, is the draft, which is very important. So stick around for that one too, Paul. We're going to talk about that. Might have a little NFL mock draft. We did it last year, me and Joe Cabral. Maybe we can get Paul Santos on there as well, and we can have some fun with that one. We do like a first-round mock draft, so we usually have some fun with that. So stick around for that one on the New Bedford Cable Network. Hopefully we can get that one out there for you in a couple of weeks.
That'll be fun. What about Odell Beckham Jr.? Would you take a crack at that situation?
Well, he's just coming off an injury too, but you saw what he did with St. Louis. He kind of helped them out too. Stretches the field, still got some good hands, still got some good speed. It's possible if the contract is right. Give a little veteran leadership as well to maybe some of the young guys on your team. So it's possible. And the Patriots sometimes, figured they could do that. Like they tried with Ocho Cinco and a couple other guys to add some leadership on there. So, I wouldn't put it past them. It's possible.
Before he stretches the field, he might have to do a few extra stretches before the game.
Got to stay healthy.
Got to stay healthy. All right, Chris, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks to our callers and for those who are commenting in the comment section over here. We'll be back again next week to catch up on all that has happened in sports. Have a great week. Be well. For Chris Santos, I am Paul Santos. For all of us here at Santos on Sports, have a great day.